Hi, this is Danny again. I'm at a point now where I'm charging my lithium-ion batteries with a battery-to-battery charger, and I'm using a Sterling Pro Batt Ultra, which I've showed you before. Um, Most people say that floating your batteries, getting your batteries into the float mode, and keeping float on continuously is not a good thing for your Lifepo4 batteries. And feel free to let me know if you think otherwise. However, I've been looking at this article by Compass Marine How To, Rod there, and he says that it's not a good thing to float your battery. So I'm trying to turn off my charger when I hit the goal voltage. Say it's 13.8. I'm going to turn it off and then maybe let it drop down to maybe 13.7 or 13.6 and then start it again. Of course, when I'm not on the boat, I don't want to keep it up there that high. I would just want to probably have some maintenance voltage level. So I'm going to go over my setup with you right now, and then we can kind of discuss where I'm at on this, and maybe you have some ideas to help me out. Okay, I'll briefly go over my setup now. So I got a power supply here that I'm running somewhere between 13.5 and 14.7, and that's going to emulate my my battery on the boat, my lead acid battery when I'm hooked up to the alternator, or possibly hook up to a shore charger. Then I have a Sterling battery to battery Pro Batt Ultra that I'm going to use to hook my existing lead acid charging system to my Lipo4 Cal 160 amp hour batteries. So the Pro Batt Ultra has this BMS 2 input to it, and I'm going to use that to be able to stop the charger from charging. There's a voltage sense line that goes up to the Pro Batt charger also, but I can also read voltage to an Arduino microcontroller that I have set up. I also have a voltage sensing timer that I bought on eBay or AliExpress that I'm going to show you that I have hooked up, and I have another video on that. Basically, there's switch A that tops it up, switch B that puts it in maintenance mode that charges to a lower voltage, and then I have a kind of a neutral switch that specifies that I'm going to have the Arduino take over and operate the BMS. So on the Arduino, I have a relay that hooks up to one of the ports on the Arduino, which I actuate a relay module, and then that shuts off the BMS module. So here's my power supply. I'm emulating a alternator probably on my boat right now. I've got 14.5 volts, and it is taking a bit of a charge. The batteries are taking a bit of a charge from the charger. I also have a BMS module. You can see it's reading 13.87, and the goal voltage is 13.8. It's not registering any amps. You can also see that I'm roughly 93%. It figures on the state of charge, and here's the amp hour capacity. So what I have here, this is the display from the Arduino that I programmed. I wrote a program to monitor the battery voltage, and then I also am monitoring whether the charge is it's charging or not. And there's a BMS input I'm using to read the voltage off that, so I can tell if the charger is actually charging or not charging. I also have a relay module here that I'm running input from the Arduino over the relay module, and that relay module is also hooked to the BMS. Here's a here's a picture of the Arduino if you haven't seen them. Basically there's digital and analog ports you can hook up wires to and program it with a USB, and that will allow you to sense different voltages from different places and actuate relays and such. This is a these are voltage divider modules that are hooked up to the analog ports on the Arduino, which allow you to isolate the ports from harm, and also be able to read higher voltages than would otherwise be possible. I also have a keypad input that I have, into the Arduino that I'm going to be using for this experiment that I'm going to show you. So you can kind of see here the leads that I have here, and I've got the Sterling Pro Batt Ultra 80 amp charger. It's set up for, it's in float mode right now. Set up for Lifepo4, and in that charge profile it has 13.8 as the goal voltage. I also have here a charger that I have already done a YouTube video on that you can look up. It's not a charger, it's a timer module, and it allows me to set a goal voltage and also a timer associated with that goal voltage. I also have here a current monitor that I'm running off of the Sterling, and I've got a BMS module in here. It's kind of hard to see, but I did show you the BMS, and that's just the BMS part that goes with the Bluetooth output. Here's a Calb 160 amp hour prismatic batteries. I have 4S configuration, and these wires here go to the BMS monitor that we were just taking a look at. So I also have an external display on the run on the Sterling Pro Batt Ultra. So the issue is here, I've got a voltmeter here. We're at 13,885, right? Our goal was 13.8, and this thing has just been running for hours on this voltage, and so it's supposed to not be good for that. So how can we turn off the Sterling charger? So let's look at the battery here. We're just trickling in, a very little amount of current here, but it's still trickling in. Not so much that we can actually see. Looks like we're not getting any current here, just because the BMS doesn't quite can't quite see it, but we are exceeding what voltage we wanted to meet. So what I'd like to do now is I'll show you how I have this. I have a switch here on the timer controller, and you can see now that this LED over here is on. That means that I caused the voltage to go high on one of these BMS wires. So what we're going to do is look over here at the charger, and we shut it off. And my Arduino basically indicates that the charger is shut off now. So that worked. I do have two different charge profiles. Like I said, I've got just a switch here. I've got 3-position switch. So this one will shut the timer monitor off, and will allow the Arduino to take over the charging, the control of the BMS line. And this will have an alternate profile that I've programmed that might be maintenance mode, lower voltage. Maybe I'll set the goal voltage at, you know, maybe 13.3 or something like that rather than 13.8. So I'm going to turn this off now, and you're going to see that the charger should kick on. And okay, yep, see, kicked on. So we're charging at 1.5 amps, and probably this might actually register. Yeah, you can see that well, I don't know what I thought you could see 1.22, 1.13. So the BMS modules also now sensing that that's charging again. So what we can do with the Arduino is we can program it to monitor voltages and actuate this relay module. And what I've done is I've written a bit of code to where I just to show you that, you know, how this would work is I'm just going to press this 4, and this 4 is going to cause the Arduino to fire a signal at the relay through one of its digital ports. So I'm going to show you that right now. So here's the relay module. I'm pressing 4. There it goes. So it fired. Okay, so let's see. So it's still reading. It's still reading a charge on the. Okay, there. The Arduino basically read that the charger went off, and sure enough, the output went off. So maybe what you can do is help me with if you have some evidence that leaving things on the charger is okay at certain voltages, maybe you can write that in the comments for me. The other thing is, if you have some knowledge about this charger, it's set up for Lifepo4 right now. I can set it custom programming on a setting to maybe, you know, to maybe turn off float. But my problem is I want to be able to turn the charger off at some point. So I'd like to probably turn it off at 13.6, and then or like start charging again at 13.6 up to 13.8, and then shut it off at 13.8, and then maybe at 13.6 start charging again. So I hope this is helpful to you, and maybe you can help me out too by leaving your comments. Thank you.